Hey everybody, in my last videos I shared about those first few years at our first address in the Florida Keys. And in this video I'll talk about the last few years living at that address. Now, I've definitely had a lot of fun times down there. And so we moved in there about fall of 81 and then we moved out in 88. So we stayed there for about 6 years. So really, like, when I think about that whole time there, it was a lot of fun, particularly because my two cousins lived nearby. So that's my cousin Steven and my cousin Nessa there on my 10th birthday. When we first moved there, it was called Golf Drive. It was a dirt road with potholes in it. In fact, I think there was a big pothole out in the front of our house where a huge lightning bolt struck right in front of our house one day. One of the most terrifying things I remember. So that was kind of like early on. And I remember I really didn't like eating cereal, so sometimes I'd just take it outside and dump it right in that very pothole. Anyway, they paved that road in about 85 and then named it Ed Swift Road after the mayor who got the job done. So that way we were able to go roller skating and skateboarding right there on our own road. So yeah, living at that house definitely had a lot of fun times. Like I was saying, my cousins up the street, and my dad was a pretty fun and goofy guy, and I would say he was always trying to make things fun. Like he bought these toys for us and stuff like that. So he's got his glasses on upside down, and of course my cousin Vanessa. I like to think she was my best friend growing up. She's just a few years younger than me, and Steven there was about a year older than me, and so he was also one of my best friends growing up. Now, I was about that age. It's probably about the age of 10 or so. See, I got my hair cut. You might imagine when I first met Master Sharon at Shaolin, I kind of thought, hey, see a little bit of me in her. And so she was the person teaching class when I walked in, by the way. That's a Van der Graaf generator my Uncle Don brought over. Now, he was a high school teacher and later a college professor, and he likes to teach math and science, mostly. Then the neighbors up the street had a boa constrictor. I was allowed to come over and handle the boa constrictor from time to time. And that's one of the only pictures I have of me and my mom. I think this might have been a place up in Miami. And that's me a couple years later. So that's my Uncle Don's boat. So my Uncle Don was a Marine veteran from the Vietnam War. And by the way, my Grandpa Smith, who's also a Don that he was named after, was also a war veteran from the Army during the Korean War. So my Uncle Don was a sailor, and so that was his sailboat. I think around the summer of 87. Summer of 87 is when he took us all out on a sailboat, and we went out under the 7-mile bridge and over to Marathon for 4th of July. So definitely had a lot of great times at that house, and really wanted to point out that I don't know, when I think about that, 81 to 88 was an exciting time in my life for a lot of reasons, probably like most people, that when you're growing up it's just fun, and I have my grandma to thank, because we went over to her house to do our swimming, right? That's where our party is, right there in her backyard. So we could make a huge mess and get frosting all over ourselves. We one of the silly things we used to do is spit watermelon seeds on each other and stuff like that. But that was fine because you could just go jump right in the water. Well, as much fun as I had with my cousins, we weren't always the best kids. We did a lot of stupid stuff and naughty things. And, there are certain things that, we definitely deserved to get in trouble for. Like, I don't know, we used to get together and just get kind of goofy, and well, my cousin Steven, he kind of talked us into doing things that we wouldn't do otherwise, like for example, the divider between my grandma's house and the neighbors had these metal prongs or something sticking out, and he noticed like you could just kind of wiggle them and break them off, and he kind of enjoyed doing that. So he like took them and was throwing them in the water, and he invited me. So I came over and was like, yeah, I don't see, oh my God, my grandma was really fucking pissed. Or like the time me and the kids at the bus stop noticed there was a lot of glass bottles laying around. It was an abandoned gas station with all this beer bottles laying around. So we enjoyed smashing them all against the wall. So we smashed every single bottle we could find. But some of the parents got together and said they're not going to let us get away with that. So we had to go down and clean up all that glass. Um, Now, one of the things I used to get in trouble for was chasing the ducks. Those were my pet ducks. I always felt that I was entitled to hold them and pet them, but I was always getting in trouble because I think it has kind of something to do with my grandma and grandpa's mentality. It was probably meant to teach me to respect them. I shouldn't, chase them around. I should only look at them. Well, I didn't believe that way. I was always getting in trouble for that. So, I kind of think, my parents and my grandma and some of the adults that had to take care of me thought, I was the kind of kid that didn't always listen. So I did get in trouble for doing stuff like that, but I like to think, it's fair to say, I'm not a perfect angel, you know what I mean? So there's definitely a lot of embarrassing things that I've done at age, like being 10 years old and being left home alone. I don't know how we managed, but my friend up the road talked me into going into this woman's house. Like we just went down to pay her a visit and she wasn't home and I don't know how he talked me into going into her yard and into her house, but the dumbass stole something out of her house and got us busted. Well, his mother took us down to apologize to her and she pointed a gun at us and told us don't ever come here again. So it got reported to the police and so from then on, my dad would call me his juvenile delinquent, and it was great because then that made me a bad kid. And, but, I'm really embarrassed about stuff like that. I don't know what the hell. I should have known better than that. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And so being at that age, I was well aware of all the music that was popular, like I remember like making a couple of trips up to Michigan. I don't know, like 80, 84, 85, maybe 83 to 84, when rap music was becoming popular, and my sister and my cousins were all listening to that Jamone, 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 and so I was aware of everything like Michael Jackson, Madonna, Cindy Loupner, Boy George, you name it. I was, George Michael. Uh, so yeah, and MTV was coming out. But my dad really hated MTV and he hated letting us watch it, so we used to get in trouble for it. But nonetheless, we'd be stuck home alone all summer, and we couldn't. No one could stop us. And it wasn't particularly my idea. It was more my sister. She used to like to watch MTV or play the radio. So I was well aware of all the music that was coming out. And at the same time, what was going on with my dad's music, like all the music that was like industrial. They're getting more like techno-y all the time. Like when you listen to like SPK and Cabaret Voltaire, becoming more conventional. And then, it just seemed like around that time, 85 into 87, we were making a lot of trips up to like Orlando and Tampa to go to all the big places like Disneyland, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, and then we would go up to Miami and visit some of those places, like the one there in the picture. They had kind of a mini SeaWorld there, like a different type of place, the Miami Ocean place, and then they had like a place for parrots and all that. And so yeah, we did a lot of fun stuff and made trips and did a lot of Florida stuff, like I was saying earlier, spent a lot of time swimming in the canal every summer. We didn't go to the beach a whole lot. The beach was kind of crappy compared to my grandma's canal, so we didn't really need it. And we had a lot of great Christmases and Thanksgivings. We've actually had some hurricanes and we've had to do some hurricane cleanup. I remember early on the yard was flooded. The ducks were swimming through the yard. And then another hurricane we had, probably 84-ish. All kinds of stuff got knocked down out in the yard and we had lots and lots of work to do. I remember around Thanksgiving, me and my cousin standing out by the side of the road with this big heap of branches and stuff going, man, my cousin Steven is like, Thanksgiving, and is this the thanks we get having to do all this yard work? Boy, talk about slave labor. That was a lot of work having that fucker come through. But we lucked out on Andrew, and thankfully I left before some of the bigger hurricanes. But yeah, so, totally had the Key West, Florida experience, and let's see, by the end of our stay at that address, I'd say that 87 was such a big year, just it's when I started getting into my taekwondo training. And before we left there, I think I got into sixth grade. I got transferred from Sugarloaf to HOB. We were hoping it would give me a new start because, man, things were just getting worse and worse with the kids wanting to pick fights with me and stuff like that. So then I was starting to take car rides into to work with my mom and dad to go to HOB to go to school. It stands for Horace O'Brien. It was named after a pirate or something. Anyways, yeah. So staying at that house was definitely a very big part of my life and my memories. Some of the good times we had, some of the naughty things we did. I forgot to mention, me and my sister used to camp out in the backyard, and we used to sneak out. It was kind of her idea. Like, I knew it was a bad idea, but she kind of like talked me into it by saying, if I don't go, everyone thinks is gonna think I'm a sissy. So I went, and we finally got caught. I think we got away with it for some time, but finally we got caught, and we got a butt spanking with the belt. That was like one of the worst butt spankings we got. But it's one of those things where, like, I agree with some things like butt spankings and that, because like it's like saying, hey, this is important. So I don't resent that necessarily. It's just a story about, some of the naughty things we've done. By the time we left that trailer, I know we've done that. And I don't know. I got so many stories about living at that trailer. I still have dreams about it. Like, I'll have dreams that we're living there again. It'll be so weird. Like, I've got a bed set up in our old bedroom. Now, living at that trailer, it was a 3-bedroom trailer, and one was supposed to be my bedroom, so that's where my closet, my clothes was. And the other one's like my sister's bedroom, and that's where we both shared the room because we were using my room as the spare room. And so, because we didn't have anywhere else to put our junk. So, I never really had my own room living there. And when I was getting too big to share the room with my sister, I ended up having to sleep out in the living room, So I've never really had my own room until we moved into another house and my sister moved out. So, living there, it was a fun time, but it was also kind of a time of humility and diminishment for me as well. So, anyways, I just wanted to focus on some of the fun times we've had there, and what a big year it was going into 87. And I was getting into music, and that's when I started this tape collection. I've shared about this whole tape collection and how I started loving, like, when my dad realized my 3 favorite bands were Cabaret Voltaire, New Order, and Kraftwerk, he bought me a bunch of their tapes. He bought me a Casio, so that was my first electronic keyboard. I started learning everything I could learn on that little Casio. So that was a big year. I'll have more to share about that at another time, but I gotta wrap this up. Otherwise, it takes me like 3 hours to upload these to YouTube. So I'll talk to you soon. You guys have a great day. Thanks for listening if you're here at this point. Bye-bye now.